setting up for live stream. And it looks like we are live. Yes, we are. Yay! We're back. Situate my screen here. Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here one more time. We have people here. Yay. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited, as always, and happy to be here with Paulina Howfield. Hi, Paulina.
Hi, nice to be here. Thank you. And hi, everybody.
Yes, today we're going to talk about some cool stuff as usual. And I'm still working on situating my screen here. And while I do that, Paulina.
Yes.
Could you share a little bit about yourself with our audience?
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure to be a part of events like this, or events, gatherings, whatever we're calling them, because it gives us an opportunity to, for me anyway, it gives me an opportunity to find out where people are at, and also hopefully be in service and share information that may be helpful. So I've been doing what I do for a long time. I had experiences as a child, contact experiences and paranormal visitations and watches and all sorts of things happening when I was a child, and knew about past lives, knew about different realities, and have been out of the mainstream all my life. I never had to step out of the mainstream. I was never in it.
Lucky you.
And have had a near death when in the 1980s, and since then it's really been a focus on how can I best do what I came to do, how can I help, and that involves doing a lot of interactions with the soul of the earth, working with galactic beings, working in past lives, personal planetary healing, continuing my own cosmic journey to total soul recall and helping other people do that, and participating in whatever way I can to facilitate the remembering of the divine feminine and the awakening of the collective consciousness and the ascension of our planet and our species and all other species on her body.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, and a little bit about me. Most of you know me here. I am Sharon Kumara, and I am in service to the planet as a psychic medium, galactic contactee as well. I've had 2 near-death experiences that I have recall of. And I'm also a hypnotherapist channel. Oh gosh, what else? I have an academy where I facilitate courses and classes and things like that. And I have this YouTube podcast thingy here going on where I get to meet such amazing people from all over the world. I mean, this is, how can we beat this, right? And then communicating with people here. So I am very, very happy to be here tonight, and hopefully you'll have some questions. Let me see what we got here. And then what we're going to do after I read a couple of comments here is we're going to start with doing a little bit of a short sharing of our near-death experiences, and if we have anything new about them that we want to share, and then we'll move on to galactic contacts and things like that. Okay, so Rev Ned. Hello, Rev Ned. Wrapping you to shining Shiros and loving heart energies. Oh, and lots of hearts. Thank you, Rev Ned. Good to see you here. Christine, she says, hi, I can't wait to hear this. I've got so many questions and I'm not getting real answers. Well, hopefully we can get some real answers for you. Hopefully this will help. Yes, hopefully.
We'll pull our socks up, won't we?
We will. All right. Thank you, Christine. So Paulina, do you mind sharing a little bit about your near-death experience?
Sure, I'll just give
Or
a brief.
experiences? Okay.
So I'd been unwell for a few weeks, and I thought I had a tummy bug. It turns out that I had something else going on. I had a cyst on an ovary, and it ruptured. And I was in a community in Israel at the time, and I needed help to get to hospital. And I ended up in a car with two people. They were taking me to hospital. One was a student doctor, one was a nurse. And the nurse was checking me. I was in the back seat of the car, and making sure that I was okay, because it was pretty obvious that something had happened. And I was pretty sure that the cyst had ruptured, because earlier in the day I'd seen a specialist, and he had said to me, you need to be careful, you've got this happening on your ovary, and if it ruptures, you could be very unwell. And I remember leaving thinking, well, I wonder what would happen if it ruptured. Like, how would I know it had ruptured? Well, it turns out it's really easy to know it had ruptured. So we knew we needed to get to the hospital. And I was sitting in the car with my head resting against the window of the vehicle in the back seat, in the left-hand side of the car. And it was nighttime, and so I had my eyes watching I was just watching the stars, and I was really struggling to breathe because of the toxic shock and everything that was happening in my body. And so I had my head against the window because the glass was a little bit chilly. It was quite nice. It was making me feel cooler and more settled as I was concentrating on my breathing. And so, as I said, I was looking at the stars, and I took some breaths, and then I was outside of my body. And it was like an eye had pulled me out the top of my head, or my third eye, the top of my head. And once I was out, every breath I took, or it felt like every breath I took, I just went further out and further out and further out. And so I could see the car with the people in it, one of whom was my body. Then I was up above the tree line. Then I was up above, look, I don't know how high I was, but I have been in a hot air balloon. And when you're in a hot air balloon, you're about anywhere between 1,000 and 3,000 feet high. So I was up there, and then I was higher. And then I could see the whole of the landscape. And I could see the cities in the distance. I could see the roads and the highways and houses, the lights of houses. And then I kind of shot out into space. And while I was out in space, I could see the planets which were around, and I could see different, see and feel a lot. And I felt like I was coming home. And I'm trying to be quick, so I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm rushing through, because I am in a way.
Well, we do have a video where you spend more time with it.
Yes,
yeah. And I'll put the link down below.
And so the predominant thing that I got from that experience was, A, we're not our bodies, we're not our emotions, and we're not our thoughts. Absolutely, we're not that. And if we're not that, then who are we? And that was part of the experience for me, was we're just consciousness experiencing itself. So I was bathed in the sea of consciousness. And in that sea of consciousness, it was like I knew the answers to everything. I felt absolutely connected to everything. There was never and never is any separation. And I could feel it and sense it. And every part of me was absolutely fully present in there, although I was not in a body. But my body in the car felt the same experience, because I integrated that later and recognized that. So I'm in this sea of consciousness, and on the way to the sea of consciousness, like a deeper experience of that, the 4 elements went through. Actually, the 5 elements, but I always talk about it as the 4. So earth, wind, air, and fire. Earth, wind, fire, and water. Sorry, earth, wind, fire, and water went through. And each element went through me. and I could feel it, and I experienced them as living being entities, because they are living being entities and energy forms. And in that experience, I began to really fully understand something, that we come through those elements to be made into matter. And those 4 elements, and the ether as well, which is part of the sea of consciousness, makes us who we are. And it is in the creation of that that we become this particular matter. And so at the time, it was also about recognizing this is the journey through afterlife. So, and this is how we navigate the realms to get back to source. And then I spent time in the corridors of light, and the corridors of light were manifestations of, if you like, what's often called the Akashic record, which is also a part of the sea of consciousness. So there was a sense of being in them, in the corridors. Any door, there were lots of doors. Every door was open. Any door I went into, there was access to past lives, there was access to Akashic records, there was access to pretty much anything. And so there was a conglomeration of information and understanding that came with it. And then I didn't meet anybody. I had an experience that felt really familiar. So if somebody had said to me, you're going to have a near death, I would have gone, oh, okay, I didn't really think I was going to have a near death. So that tells me I didn't discount them, but I never thought that I was going to have it. And when I had it, it's a real clear thing for me that the reason I had it was to fully embrace what I came to do in this life and be able to do it in a body, because a lot of the frequencies that are required are hard to manage in a physical body. And when your frequencies really change permanently, and like the aftersoul, the oversoul, it kind of gets wired differently in the body. Now, I think it was probably already wired differently in my relationship with the Ray Masters. There's definitely a different configuration for me, but that had to be activated and repurposed, ready for that. And so a lot of these things I'm talking about now came after some time of integrating it and figuring it out and helping people pass over and working with the afterlife. Mm-hmm. And then also I spent time with, I read stuff about people's NDEs. I've got to get all the information. It was more of a curiosity. And I came across a lot of people who'd had NDEs, and because there are a lot of us who've had them. And I think that's important as well in how we move forward as a collective consciousness and what we understand about the other side, the invisible realms. I think that's why so many people are coming forward with these stories now, because it's that time of really understanding. And so I came back to a body that had some damage, and I needed to have some healing on that, and that's been a lifelong journey. Integrating it has taken as long as it takes, and it has just led me further and further to understanding it. And in the integration process, PMH Atwater, who's done a lot of research, says it takes at least 20 years for these things to begin to, if not fully, integrate.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
So some people come out really early telling their stories, and it's like, I bless them and I love them for it, but I also feel deeply in my heart for them, because this is just the beginning. And it's really hard to talk about these. You can hear me stumbling around and trying to find the way. They're hard to talk about. They're deeply meaningful, and they're deeply personal, and they're relevant for me. Mm-hmm. And Sharon's is relevant for her, and they're relevant for us. But on some level, they're also relevant to other people. And how can we bring them forward so that they help other people is the question and the difficulty. And they're experiences that have no words, but we try to give them words, because that's how we express ourselves predominantly in Western culture, is through words. Right. So one of the things I actually studied was art therapy. And I'd already done some art therapy and psychology studies, but I went and did that specifically in transpersonal psychology and things that are about nonverbal and energy work and more past life. So it's like bringing all those things forward as a result of that. And I'm now going to hand it over to Sharon, because I could talk about this for a lot longer, but I think I'll move on to Sharon.
Oh, thank you. I know this is the second time I've heard you share the experience, I believe, and it's just so profound still. I mean, not that sharing it takes anything away from it each time you share it, but wow, thank you. And I love what you say about taking 20 years. I feel it might even be more. It took me a couple of years to actually realize that I had a near-death experience, because I was having all these memories, I guess you could say, coming up, and all actually, but I was experiencing them during the memory, if that makes sense. I was in the experience again. Yeah. And it's been 20 years for me now. Yeah, 20 years. 2001. It was June 2001, and I'm still learning from it. Still, things are still coming up. So that makes total sense. It also took me, I'm going to say, at least 10, 12 years to be able to talk about it with people. And publicly. I've just started in the last couple years to talk about it publicly, to share it publicly, because yeah, it's very personal, and you don't know how to put it in words, right? Like you said. Thank you, Paulina. So I'll go ahead and just briefly share some of both of mine. And I didn't remember my first one until I had my second one in 2001. My first one was when I was 9 years old, but that didn't come to mind. It didn't come out of my memory banks until 2001, when I had my second one, which was the one that that put me on this path I'm on now. Well, I should say it was a catalyst for it, because I'd already started trying to understand what happens to us when we leave this world, because my stepfather had passed, and I just couldn't believe that, being raised Catholic, that we either go to heaven or hell, and that's it. Or purgatory, right? So anyway, so I started opening up and having out-of-body experiences, and then I lived in San Antonio, Texas, and my girlfriends and I had gone inner tubing down the river June 11th for a girlfriend's birthday, and we had a really nice day. We went tubing, had a really good time. There was 5 of us, and we climb onto a shuttle bus to take us back to our cars, and it's one of those old school buses, the small old school bus that the outrigger used to and pulling a trailer to hauling a lot of inner tubes and ice chests in it, and so we climb onto the bus, but I see that their seats are full, so I start to get off, and they say, oh, come on. So I'm the first one of our group, and I go to the back of the bus standing up, and my friends are in front of me. And as he's going through gears, shifting through gears, the back door that I am is right behind me, flies open, and I fall out of the bus. And I remember all of that part of it bouncing onto the, well, I remember all of it pretty much now, that part of it, bouncing onto the trailer hitch onto my side and screaming in my head, stop, stop. And then I bounce onto the pavement, and the trailer runs over my head. I remember seeing a bus coming at me too, and I'm screaming in my head, stop, you're killing me. And that is at the point where I popped out of my head. I also popped out of my head. I just popped out. And I remember that I knew I had died. I knew that I had transitioned. I knew that this, that I had died. But it wasn't any big deal to me. it was like, okay, well, because I had done it so many times, I knew that this is what we do. And my first thoughts were, this is really going to ruin my friend's day. We had a really good day, and this is going to really ruin the day for them. Man, that's really a bummer. Those were my first thoughts, just thinking about the people we leave behind, right? And I was thinking about my mom and how it was going to really hurt her. No, first I thought about my boyfriend at the time and thought, oh, well, he'll be fine. He'll be sad, but he'll get over it. And I was thinking about it. And all these thoughts were going through my head. And my sister and her family, they'll be really sad, but they'll get over it. And then I thought about my mom. And when I thought about my mom, who I was really close to and I was kind of taking care of, I felt my stepdad behind me. And I turned around and there he was, and he was intuiting to me that that it wasn't my time, not so much in words, but that type of information.
Mm.
And then I saw past him, I saw what looked like it was a tunnel. It looked like a tunnel or a portal or something like a tunnel. And I recognized some of my relatives there, and also relatives that I didn't know here, but I knew that they were my ancestors. And I'm starting to move toward it because I didn't want to go back. And so I'm moving toward it, and I see off in the distance this huge, looks like a sun, as bright as a sun, but it doesn't hurt my eyes. And it's a golden color, like the sun. And there's a figure that comes out of it. And as he gets closer, I recognize him as Yeshua or Jesus. That's who I recognized him as. And I just fly to him, or I just fly to him.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And at that point, I'm within his, thank you, in his energy field. I'm in his field. And I still I'm not able to find the words to describe what that feels like. And I've heard other people describe being in his presence, or someone, with that light being presence, or his presence. For me, it was anything that I was worried about, or that I had problems with, worried about my mom or anyone on the planet, or anything like that, or anything that I felt that I had done wrong. Just, it's gone. It's gone. All I feel is his love, and his adoration is the best word that comes to mind for me as a soul, for me as a soul. And so I remember his laughter, because he also tells me telepathically that it's not my time. Yeah, that I still have work to do, that kind of thing. It was telepathic. But I remember his laughter. I remember that because I said I didn't want to go back, and his laughter is what really made me buoyant. And his eyes were just so they were so blue. They were really beautiful blue and bright. So after a little bit of conversation, he says, well, I'm going to take you, would you like to go on a journey? He asked me if I want to go on a journey with him, and I said, well, sure. So he takes my hand, and then suddenly we are, everything changes. I don't even recall what's around me. We're just kind of, there's no floor or anything. We're just kind of floating, but it doesn't feel like we're floating. I don't feel like I have a body, but I feel like I do, if that makes any sense. I still know I'm Sharon, but with him, I'm part of him and me, if that makes any sense. I don't know. I still have this awareness of who I am as a earth being, but I'm also aware that he is me and I am him. I don't know how else to explain it, that we are as one in, you know, in that space. And I knew him. I knew him. I've known him for as long as my soul has known him forever. So so then he takes my hand, and we're flying through the cosmos, planets and stars and everything. And he takes me, and I see a water planet. And this is something that I had experienced or remembered afterward, and had this experience in my meditations, and I realized, oh my gosh, this happened in my near-death experience, and I hadn't shared this before. So this is breaking news kind of thing. So I realized I was, I guess what you call a mer. I was a mer, a water being on that planet. And he helped me realize that I was, could connect to the body of the planet, as the planet was also a living conscious being. And I experienced who I was as the planet. And I was able, and the love that I felt for every single consciousness, living, breathing part of that planet, of my body as a planet, was immense. It was just so immense. And then I was able to, he showed me how I could drop down in frequency to where I could find myself as a mer person, or, you know, in the water. And then we ended up moving through the water as a mer, where on a denser frequency. And that's where I was able to see my family, see my mer family, and share that space with them, which I've shared before. But that was immense as well, the heart connection that I had with them. And he helped me understand that that when my Earth mission is finished, then even though I can access that life anytime, which I did a lot afterwards, but it was just so emotional for me. I got to where, gosh, it's almost too much, because I didn't want to come back from there. That can be a focus for me, where I'll have that focus in my, I'll be at that point where I can move into that lifetime as a main focus, if that makes any sense. Does that make any sense? Like, this is a main focus. Okay.
To me, sure.
Okay. So as I was experiencing that, we were conversing about, you know, me coming back, and that he did say something along, not say, but intuit something along the lines of that there was so much information coming, and I that came with me later too, that there was a lot going to happen on the planet, a lot that was going to happen. And I made the decision to be here during that time, and that I really didn't have the time, even though he didn't, I don't remember him using the word time, but that it wasn't enough of a, I'm just going to use the word time, for me to reincarnate and come back with what's going to happen with the planet that's going to happen, like what we're doing happening now, because this is 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So he talked me into coming back. And then as I was remembering this, and I don't remember coming back to my body. I just remember I'm in my body. I haven't brought that memory back yet. I just remember I'm in my body, and I jump up, and I'm running around. And I had seen a bus coming at me when I left my body, and that bus had stopped. I was thinking, oh, and that's another thing I was thinking. I hope that bus doesn't run over my body, because I'm looking at my body down on the ground. I think I forgot to say that. I'm looking at my body down on the ground and thinking, I hope that bus doesn't, because it's a big bus, doesn't run over a different bus, a commuter bus, run over my body. That would be really bad. But I didn't feel a lot of attachment to it. And so, so I saw the bus had stopped. My friends are helping me. I get up and then the ambulance comes and gets me, but I didn't have any broken bones or anything like that.
Oh, no broken head either.
No, well, no, no broken head, just a headache for a long time. And I have hair that fell out. They teased me at the hospital there that had tire tracks across my head. And so I have a little bit of, I have a scar on this side of my head. And so
Wow.
yeah, I have muscle damage. I have to, like you were saying, I still have to work on my back. I hang upside down to keep my back from hurting too bad and things like that. And I've got scars on my legs. But as I was remembering this, I remembered that I had a near-death experience when I was 9. And I'll share that real quick. And it has to do with a little bit with this one, the one in 2001. I was going through trauma as a child where a family member was abusive to me. And at one point, he was so abusive that he punched me so hard that that my body died, and I popped out of my head at that point as well. And I remember, and I didn't feel, in the one in 2001, I didn't feel it as much as I did when I was 9. I had that intense pain for just a second, and then all of a sudden I felt this peace, this immense peace that I can't even describe as that little girl. And I was floating, and I just realized this recently, that I was floating in this space that was, it was dark, but it wasn't black dark. It was, and I guess people have described it as the void. Okay. But I didn't realize what that, what that space was until I heard Claudia Edge, when I talked to her and another gal, describe the void. I'm like, I had no idea how to even describe this until they shared their experience. And I'm floating in this space where I'm I don't see, but I don't need to see. I don't have any feeling that I need to see. I think you described something like that too, Paulina, where and I don't feel, my physical senses are, they're fulfilled. I don't have any reason to even think about them. I don't think about them. Everything's fulfilled, everything. And I'm not lacking anything. I don't, it was like what I felt when I was with Yeshua, in his presence, but in a different space. And I don't know how long it was. I don't know how long I was out with Jesus, Yeshua, either, in terms of the higher frequency time. But I just remember him coming to me then. I remembered him again in 2001, going back as a child, and he approaches me, and he says, and I recognize him again. I recognize him right away. And he says, he takes my hand. Actually, he kneels or crouches down in front of me, and he says, "Come with me, child. You've suffered enough. You don't have to go back." And he's holding my face, and he takes my hand, and I said, "But I do want to go back. I don't, I want to go back because I haven't finished what I need to do." I knew that I had that awareness at the age of 9, which is crazy to me. But when you're in that space of, that space, like you described, I can't describe it. You have that, And he asked me, are you sure? And I said, yeah, I'm sure. I don't want to have to deal with all this again. And so, and so then I'm back in my body, and I don't have recall. And it took me a while to recall a lot of my childhood with that type of stuff. But anyway, that was some of my near-death experiences. Let's see here.
That's a big story. They're two big stories. Thank you for sharing them, because, and the energy, you like, particularly when you're in contact with Yeshua and those memories, the energy is still really palpable, isn't it? That you really feel it, and you're there when you talk about it.
Yes, yes. And I can feel that with you as well when you're sharing it. You are in that experience again. And yeah, totally. It is. And I didn't remember him, like I said, for probably a year and a half, 2 years. And my mother, when she passed, she's the one who brought him to me afterwards. Hey, remember him, kind of thing, after she passed. And and it took me a while to actually believe who he was, who he really was.
Did he come in disguise, or did you just not believe it?
I didn't believe it. I didn't feel worthy. So yeah, when I was with him in my NDE, all that went away. But here, when you get back down here and go, and I went through a pretty tough time afterwards, and I know a lot of NDE'ers do go through some really tough times afterwards. Yeah. So did you have that experience, Paulina?
I think difficult time is relative to each person, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so I certainly had to do some repair work to a body, for sure. I also was living in a different country. I needed to get back to where I could get medical help for myself. And the integration, my integration was more like it was it was a remembering, because I hadn't forgotten, but I needed to be really clear about it, because the things like the awakening, all the things that you said, you wouldn't have time to come back again. All of those things I was going to be part of, and my soul knew it, and my soul had placed this there so that I would be ready and prepared, and have the years while I was doing it from that stage on, still have the years to be fully ready for what's coming, because as you know, it takes time. So part of the whole process has been that integration of it, and how to best use, if you like, the experience for myself, but also and I didn't share my story for a long time either. And so one of the things that I found intriguing from it was that I didn't meet anybody there. I felt that there was everybody there, if that makes sense. Like there were angels around and stuff, but I didn't have a particular meeting with somebody. But I had a meeting with all of them. It's very odd to try and explain that, because some people say their grandmother came forward, or Yeshua, or whatever. But for me, it was a very much an experience for this aspect of consciousness experiencing itself. And it felt to me at the time like, well, I didn't meet anybody. I don't miss that I didn't meet anybody, but that's interesting that I didn't. And excuse me, it was also really about remembering. And if something else had happened, that remembering may not have remembered to the degree that I needed to remember and bring it forward, because it changed things so that I could do the stuff that I felt that I'd come to do, the soul had needed me to do. And in all of that, it doesn't sound like, well, that was traumatic, but what it was, and it wasn't traumatic, but it was, trying to fit back in. I didn't fit in the first place, but then trying to fit back in, knowing that I really don't fit in now,
Right.
has been an interesting process with that as well. That it's a ride that we take. We bought the ticket. We're turning up in every moment, and we make it as joyous as possible. And I'm not attached to trauma, and I'm not attached to pain. And that doesn't mean that there isn't pain and there isn't trauma, but those things do not identify me. They do not make me who I am. Mm-hmm. And so in that process, I think it's been not an easier process, but it's been the process that it is. But it's been relative to also our own belief systems, hasn't it? The journey that we take.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And for me, there was a lot that needed to change in my life for me to be able to integrate what happened, and also to shift into what, where I needed to be to open up and heal, because I had a lot of healing to do. I was still a partier at that point. So yeah, I had a lot of healing that I needed to do. I wasn't like I was before that, but yeah. Let's see, I thought I saw a question. Oh, Michelle OrthoStart says, glad you came back, Sharon, and glad you came back, Paulina. Oh,
thank you. That's very kind of you to say so.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. I thought I saw a question. Christine, yes. Can multiple NDEs be buried so well that they become repressed memories?
Well, I don't know that they necessarily become repressed memories. They could become, but I certainly think that we can forget them. So I don't necessarily mean that they have to be a repressed memory, because there's a lot of things in our lives that happen that we simply forget. Really, sometimes you meet somebody and they go, "Remember when we did so and so and such and such?" And you go, "Not really, sorry." Right. And they've remembered it, because we all remember different things. So yes, I think so. What about you, Sharon? Do you agree, or?
Yeah, I think that they can definitely be buried. I mean, they were buried with me, and Paulina, it sounds like some of them it was buried with you, because for me, and I can speak from my own personal experiences, because it was so profound and emotional for me, that there was a lot that I needed to uncover and heal for those memories to come up for me. Because first of all, I didn't feel worthy of it once I got down into this human body again. I didn't feel worthy of being met by Jesus, Yeshua, or even being in his presence, that type of thing. So as I began to heal and started having remembering who I am, then the memories started coming up, and he helped me integrate them, and my guides helped me integrate them into something that made sense for me. So I would say yes, become repressed memories. I think that when they are buried, they're repressed memories. That to me, that's kind of this, I don't know the clinical term for it, but I was uncovering repressed memories of my abusive childhood as well. When did that start? Yeah, I have to look at that. Started around the same time. Yeah.
And for me, it was slightly different too, because part of this journey for me is a continuation from other lifetimes. And I'm not saying yours isn't doing that.
Yes.
It's always a continuation from other lifetimes. And our paranormal activities often in our life, our contact experiences, our experiences with galactic beings, is cumulative over lifetimes. And in previous lifetimes, I've been on a journey of what I call total cosmic soul memory. And so the integration of that is to remember everything. And I'm not talking about some people have memories where they remember the date of everything, when it happened, where they were sitting, what they were doing. That's one form of memory. This is more like an absolute awareness of everything that's happened in the universe beforehand, and also to us as a soul, because remembering, that's the process in my understanding and how I relate to it, of how we accumulate understanding and knowledge, and we're on a constant journey back to source. And that remembering facilitates that process of journeying back to source. So for me, the idea of having a memory but not actually going into that memory is a little bit alien for me, because for me it's always about opening up to each memory. And it's not like digging, you know, I don't get a shovel and dig until I'm like bleeding and blistering. It's not like that. But, you know, and some people do, they like to dig for the traumatic thing. I don't do that. But as things happen, and as my connection to the divine grows, and as my connection to other galactic beings grows, and they help me grow, because that's for me what the process is, we become colleagues, but they help me grow. There's less and less chance of a repressed memory or something held back, because we become clearer and clearer about who we're not. There's also a journey for who we are, but we become clearer and clearer of that process of who am I not. And if I'm not my emotions, and I'm not my body, and I'm not my thoughts, then who am I? And as a human 3D experience, the focus is always on you are your body, you are your emotions, and you are your thoughts. But we are not those three things at all.
No,
none of it.
Yeah, that go ahead.
No, that's fine. I think
I was just going to say that I believe that there's a lot more people that have had what we call near-death experiences, or death experiences, whatever you want to call them, than we may realize, or that they may realize, because they are repressed, or because they haven't been in a place where they can pull that out of their memory banks. There's a lot of people that have come you know, close to death in hospitals and things like that, but they come back and don't have any memory of what happened. I would bet money that they had some type of experience. Yeah, but just haven't brought that memory back. So I do believe that there's a lot of people that have had these experiences. So Christina, I feel I purposely buried everything related to my most recent NDE. It was just too painful that I don't want it to be real, that I decided I was going to basically cut everything about my experience. Okay, well,
I hold for you that whatever healing needs to happen around that for you will happen, and whether that's to remember it or to heal something else, I hold that for you. And you know, throughout history, there's a lot of information that comes out about through history about people having near-death experiences, and some of them were extremely traumatic, and led them into places they never even thought about, and on a what they would call the polarity of negative. And then there's people who have the polarity of light, or polarity of positive. I mean, there's no judgment in the other side. It's just about the experience of understanding. And I hold that for you. And in the early days of some of the stories of near deaths coming out, they were about soldiers who'd had traumatic deaths or traumatic experiences, or people falling off cliffs and having they thought as they fell, they thought they were dying because they were falling a great height. And then when they landed, they were still alive, but they had the memory of these experiences. And so each of us finds our own way through those and through them, and navigates it. I use the word navigate a lot because I think we navigate. Sometimes we ride, you know, if we were a ship, sometimes it's a stormy sea, and sometimes it's a calm sea, but we navigate through that. And I wish you well in your journey of navigating that, however you choose to go through it and be with it.
Yeah. So she says, Christine says, just thinking about any of it, I feel my mind shut off and redirect my thoughts. How would I go about healing? I was given a choice to come back. So you remember that part of it. I was talking with a consciousness in my mind and heart. if I could speak to that for a moment, and the only way I could maybe relate to that is with my experience of not feeling, there's a worthy, not feeling worthy of the love and the light and the caring and the unconditional love, perhaps, maybe, Christine, that came with your experience, that it's difficult for us to be able to integrate in our everyday life when we bring that back. And that's why it's took me a couple years to be able to do that. But with healing, as Paulina was talking about, you maybe, I would suspect, uncover those layers of not feeling worthy. Just pull the layers back, and remember a little bit, be able to bring a little bit more and a little bit more to the forefront of your mind, or in your devotions and meditations, because I believe that really profound near-death experiences are very difficult for us to remember here in this density all at once and right away. That's my perspective. Some people, I think, do, but I don't. I would say that they probably don't, like Paulina was saying, don't remember all of it, just what they can handle in their body and in their minds. So, Paulina, do you want to speak to her, that last part of her question?
Well, we don't know the exact circumstances of what it is you don't wish to go there for, or what's happened.
Yeah.
And so we're, if we're saying stuff, it's because we're supporting that, but also we might be going down the wrong track of that. And I'm really open to, in my comment, to knowing that. One of the things, though, that came up for me in what you said was, like you said, you came back, but you didn't want to come back, or you chose to come back. I can't remember. You said one or the other, or perhaps you said both.
She was given a choice to come back.
Given a choice, and you made that choice. And I think that's something that for a lot of people now, because of what's happening on the planet, because of where we're heading, because of what's going on, a lot of people cannot believe that they made a choice to come back, or that they made a choice to be here. Like, what the hell? You're talking, you mean I made a choice? But my understanding is we really did make that choice. And if we made that choice, it's because on a soul level, we came here to understand and integrate and be a soul having a 3D experience. And in that 3D experience, anything can happen. And in that 3D experience, we can really be thrown. But it's the 3D that's the illusion. Mm-hmm. And yet again, we've been told that 3D is all there is, but it is the 3D that is the illusion. So perhaps in your process, something will resonate for you in that you know that on a soul level, you made some choices, whether you were a child human or an adult human, your soul, which is the eternal aspect of you, made those choices from a wise place and a knowing place. And there are ways to work with those energies that you asked for. And, I certainly work with that. I'm sure that Sharon helps people, or go have a look to find someone that you resonate with that can help you, so that you can find the solution for you, so that it doesn't leave you with that feeling that you currently have.
Yeah, thank you, Paulina. When I was bringing my memories back, I did it through meditation. I was, and journaling, and it was intense. I'll have to say that it was very intense for me. So if you have a connection and a relationship with your guides, whoever you work with in spirit, I would suggest, working with them, and someone on this realm too that you trust and resonate with, if you're drawn to that too. But I felt that what I was going through, people were telling me, well, you need to go to counseling, you know, because I was not here. I was not here. I made a commitment to be in my room every night at 9 o'clock for my meditations. And I held down a job, but I was not here. And so I thought, and I always got the impression and intuition, felt myself, I have the best counselor in the universe right here in my room with me, which was Yeshua. Okay. Why do I need to go pay someone that that doesn't understand what I'm talking about anyway? And you know, and I did try that once, but I did find, I will admit, I did find an intuitive counselor who understood what I was talking about, and I saw her for a little while, and she helped me tremendously because I did have someone I could talk to, but and this was in San Antonio, which was rare back then, 20 years ago, to find someone in San Antonio at that time. But I did most of my work. I did pretty much all my work with in my room with my guides, with him. So, you know, that's what they're here with us for as well. But it's good to have a support system for sure. And nowadays, there's so many amazing support people, support teams like this, right? Where we can find people who can help us through things like this. Yeah, because 20 years ago, there wasn't anyone that I could talk to. I mean, Paulina, you didn't have anyone to talk to back when you had yours,
No.
right? Yeah.
No, and I came back and I was doing a whole load of spiritual work. I was like you, I was working with my guides and helpers, and you know that kind of leads into the galactic frequency things and working with that. And I was also doing art therapy, and I was doing transpersonal psychology, and all those things that were important to me, but they were also nothing to do, from my experiences, they were nothing to do with the soul. Now that doesn't mean that the people who were doing them were not well intentioned and they were not soulful people.
Yeah.
Because we're all soulful people. Yeah. But the way that the information was presented was not reaching in where I needed it to reach. So I had to find my way. I had to find the way to do things that worked for me, and then hopefully over the years have created things that can help others as well. And that, you know, that's for me partly why I have conversations with Sharon on YouTube. You know, it's
that's why we connect to each other. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that we understand. Well, I understand my journey, and Sharon understands her journey, and we understand how difficult they can be, and that it's a process, and each of us find our own way. And for some people, it's to try a lot of different things before they find their way.
Yeah.
And for some people, it's the knowing, and you just know the way to go. And I was lucky I had the knowing to know the way to go. But also in that process of knowing the way to go, we're living in a 3D world that doesn't understand that. And so it's not often the process that we're doing our own work in that's the issue, it's the world around us. And that's why it comes back to that journey within, what resonates for each of us and how we do it for ourselves, because we are all unique aspects of consciousness experiencing ourselves. And what that means is we're unique. And sometimes in that process, there's a strong sense of loneliness that comes up. And that doesn't mean we're not connected to the other side. It doesn't mean we're not connected to the human beings that we have around us and that we love or don't like, or however the situation is. But as unique beings, it can feel really lonely because there's only one of us. And that's a treasure.
It is.
But like every treasure, there's a wound with that treasure that we need to, or we benefit from exploring and understanding that wound of loneliness that comes from our own unique treasure.
Yeah. Christine, she shared something really painful here. She says, I lost my son a month prior to delivery. I hemorrhaged. I came back because I'm here to learn a lesson, to help people. I just have lost my way and myself.
Hold that for you, Christine, that you will find that back, that you will reclaim that back.
Yeah. You will. You will. Yeah, definitely. You will. Just the fact that you're here and reaching out is huge. And I get that really strongly. That's huge. That's and I mean, I can always, I mean, not always, but I can already feel that you how do I put it? That your energy is moving forward more and more every day. Okay. I feel that as you're communicating to us. Does that, I hope that makes sense. Okay. And Paulina and I both hold that you will find your way, and you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will.
You will. And your guidance will come in strong.
Definitely. Yeah.
When we start to talk about it, when we start to express something, the universe goes, oh, that's where we're going now.
Yeah,
okay.
It opens the door.
And it kind of does this with its hands, and rubs hands. Ooh, we're off. So now you're off. Now
it
you're
does.
on the journey, and wishing you well all the way.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. And I feel honored. I'm sure Pauline does too, that you shared that with us. Thank you so much for being here and sharing that. I'm sure that I mean, I can't imagine going through that. And you said you want, I hate to move away from Christine, but if you have anything else, Christine, please let us know. We can talk about Galactic, our Galactic contacts, and they all kind of tie together, don't they? I have a memory of Yeshua when he was working with me. I started remembering walking with him on the planet, and I realized that I hold the Mary Magdalene energy. And I saw, and I have this memory just as clear as day as we're sitting in meditation. He's with me, and I see him being surrounded by people. Is when he was in his ministry, surrounded by people pulling at him, Master, Lord, Master, whatever, heal me, all that. And then I see, and I'm just looking at it from afar. I'm observing, and I see a ship appear above him, and he's taken up in the ship. They take him out of that situation, and they put him down somewhere else.
Wow. Nice.
I know. And it gave me, and this is 18 years ago, and it gave me that started opening the doors for Galactic's, the Galactic contact, for me, bringing up my memories with extraterrestrials, being a contactee and things like that, and realizing that that Yeshua has that he's also a galactic being.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, who says that back then? But everyone, not everyone, but I hear it a lot now.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a galactic being. Many of those being, well, all of them probably.
Yeah, we all
are connected to the stars, and they bring that wisdom forward. And in the 17th, well, probably the 12th to the 18th centuries, when artists were commissioned to do paintings in beautiful chapels and all sorts of things, many of those pictures have craft in them, and they have halos around the head and all sorts of things, which is part of that identification of being galactic beings. And we are honored all the time by our galactic friends and our galactic energies, and we come from the stars and they want us to remember. And like that picture behind me there is a picture of a lion being, is Sirius. And I placed that up there today so that people could see it, because these line beings and the Sirius energies are with us a lot, and the Sirian energies are with us a lot, and they come in to help us understand the changes that are going on the planet. Wow. They help us understand the seeding of humanity on the planet. And they're not the Lyrans, although they look similar to the Lyrans, and the Lyrans are definitely part of our galactic history, but the Sirians have different representations depending on whether they're Sirius A, Sirius B, or Sirius C. Mm-hmm. And the Lion people, if you've ever been to Egypt, Sekhmet, or if you know anything about Egyptian history, Sekhmet would be a lion being, and she's a warrior, and she's a goddess warrior, and yeah, totally. So they are always present, helping us, and it's how we interact with them. And so as a child, I had them watching and reporting back, and if you like, I would say, looking back, they made sure that certain things didn't happen to me, mm-hmm. but also ensured that they didn't interfere with other things. So it wasn't about interfering with free will, but it was about ensuring that I didn't die, for example, right, or things wouldn't happen in the way that the plan was, because a lot of these plans are put in place over a long period of time. It's not just one lifetime. Like what's happening now on the planet has been put in place a long time ago. What's happening right now was something that was sorted out at least 50, 60, 70 years ago, and eons ago as well. So we're always experiencing the layers of these galactic frequencies. And so the Sirians come in, and actually on my Facebook page later today or tomorrow, I'm going to be putting something up about Sirian codes, because I think it's really interesting what's happening with the Sirian codes of late. And the Pleiadians come in to support the love frequencies, as do the Sirians. But the Sirians are also about helping us to remember our galactic star seeding in a different way, and how we all came through the central sun to get here.
I love that. I love that. That's so, and I shouldn't be surprised at these things, but a Sirian lion being came through in a session today, just today, with a client today, to help her remember her star, her galactic heritage. Mm. Yeah. And you bring them up. I love that. There's, I have a couple of experiences with the lion being. I mean, I feel them around too, but yeah. One in particular, I was in a out-of-body experience or whatever, I'm just there, and it's real, just like this. And I'm in a ship, a craft, and we are flying really, really fast, and we're coming up on what looks like a mountain. And I'm thinking, my 3D self, as Sharon, is thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to crash into that mountain. But we don't. And then this this doorway opens up, and we fly in, and I'm still sitting in my space. There was, I'm going to say, 4 or 5 rows of seats with about 2 or 3 seats. They weren't all full that I remember, but a couple of seats and 3 or 4 rows, maybe 4 rows, I believe. And I'm up front, and the lion being was flying the craft. I stay in my seat, as it's not for me to depart. And he gets up. I feel like he's a he, and I know him. He gets up, and as he's disembarking from the craft, very tall, he bends down and he kisses me on my forehead. And the sensation of feeling his lion mouth on my forehead was so intense and strong that I'll never forget that. I mean, I'll never forget the experience, but that's what I remember the most from him was his, the feeling of his kiss on my forehead with his lion mouth.
Yeah, beautiful. And like, you know, lions and the lion people, they're not humans,
Mhm.
but they know what it's like to have a body, and they have a good understanding of emotional energy. And they bring that forward in their interactions with us. And, you know, we all love, or well, most humans love cats or lions or pumas. You know, there's a fascination with the cat world. Even people who really don't want a domestic cat and don't like them, they may have a real fascination with the Black Panthers or something. So there's something in our understanding and knowledge of this information and their connection. And so they have a warmth, and they have a like a humanity, even though it's not humanity, but they have an understanding of that. Whereas some other beings that come from different places, like the crystal beings who also come from Sirius,
Mhm.
they have a very different they have a different frequency with a different presentation, because they're very logical, they're very scientific, they're very crystal clear, and they have an interaction that's different, and it's very much about information. Whereas the lion beings, like, you know, kissing you on the third eye, is that absolute sense of, and if you watch cats, big cats or small cats, they have a loving relationship with the others in their life.
Mhm.
And even the Egyptian cats that often, you know, they were in the temples and so on, and there are people who have cats who say their cat's not interested in them at all, and yet they have a relationship with you that's based on that old ancient lion energy.
Right,
And
right.
so being kissed on the just there is lovely.
Yes, yes, I really love that. And I do have a really full-blown memory of ancient Egypt, where I have a black panther, or black, I believe it was a black panther, as my familiar. And we are in a temple, and for some reason in my memory, we're being her name was Water. I named her Water. We're being sacrificed to bring rain. That's what I remember. And so to appease the rain gods or whatever. I don't remember when it was. I just remember being there. And the queen of the region, the queen, I was a priestess. And so that we were sacrificed in that way. And I remember seeing, when I was in that temple, I remember seeing on the walls all these hieroglyphs of extraterrestrials, the gray type beings with the big heads, the grays. Yeah, I remember seeing them in my memory, seeing all those on the walls. And I remember my cat she was getting so, as we were there for day after day, she was getting so anxious and pacing and anxious, but she didn't ever kill me for food or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I actually had to retrieve that part of myself, because I got so angry because of what was happening to her. Not not so much with me, I could take care of me, but what was happening to her, because um, she didn't deserve that. So I got so angry. So I had to retrieve that part of myself, and Water as well. That was a really profound memory for me.
Mm.
I thought I saw that Christine, she said, I do not know my guide or guides. I have spoken with multiple consciousness before. I feel a voice in my head, but I have trouble connecting. I live in isolation. I have no support. I'm finding my own. I knew my son was dead. I felt him leave, but I carried him a month before the doctor had me deliver. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Um, Yeah, well, praying for you that you definitely find in meditation and reflection and devotion, in your time with doing that, you'll be able to connect with your guides. Just ask them to come to you, ask them to be there, and trust, trust the little subtle feelings that you get. So it's a process. It's definitely a process, Christine. Paulina, did you want to say anything to that?
No, I think you've covered it well. I think we're in a time where our DNA is being activated.
Yes.
And we're being primed to remember and
Good word. Mm-hmm.
And to have connection with guides and to have connection with beings from other places, because it's time for each of us to remember. And part of this memory is to recognize that we are all volunteers, and as volunteers, everything that happens to us is an opportunity to learn and grow. And we are none of us victims to anything that happens to us. We are in a place of growing and changing. And so if you wish to connect with your guides, anyone wish to connect with your guides, it's like, be patient is really important, because if you've not made connection before, you may not need to know, you may not know the best way to do it, but also they need to establish the best way to do it with you. They connect with us through our frequencies, and they know all sorts of things about us through our frequencies and our form and the way that our matter comes together. But when we start to work with them, it's like we create openings all the time in that, and allowing it to happen. So keep working on that. And that's something I would say for everybody. We're being primed, like not really seen before for a long time on this planet. It's been seen before, but not for a long time on this planet. Are we able to have access to those dimensions and those guides and those helpers? And while we think we're alone in the world, we're actually not. We are constantly being helped and supported. But sometimes when we're really, really caught up in the trauma or the memory or the drama of something, it's hard for them to make connection, because we've like put ourselves in this little bubble of, I'm alone and nothing can come near me and don't even bother. And they kind of try and find their way. So they might be trying to find their way. So one of the things you could do is just ask them, are you trying to find a way? And then listen, and then just stay quiet and stay in that quiet space. And
patience. That's exactly what I was going to say. So we're getting the same intuitions from the peeps here, is that it's difficult for them to connect to us when we're in a lower frequency, which is an emotional frequency of feeling really down, and it's difficult for them to get to us because we're caught up in the trauma, like you were saying, Paulina, definitely. And what my guides have told me is they see our light. That's how they see us. They see our light. They don't see us physically the way we see ourselves. They see our light. And the more light we have, and the more we are, we allow our light to shine, and the easier it is for them to connect to us, because our frequency is moving up. It's it's easy because we're moving up closer to them, but they can't lower their frequency to be in, be down here in the doldrums with us. The doldrums, I guess, is the word. It's they're very high frequency beings, so it's difficult. It's very difficult for them to be able to come down here. So we have to meet them at least halfway to where we can feel them, or you can ask them to bring you signs. And like Paulina was saying, but it's really important to listen, to be quiet. And we doesn't mean we have to quiet our mind, but be in a space where we have a commitment, where we will devote to ourselves in that connection with them, you know, on a daily basis, where we spend that time to connect with them and ask them for help and ask them. I've found that commitment is really, really important with connecting with our guides, because if we don't commit to it, then how are they going to commit to helping us on a regular basis if we're not committed to helping ourselves? Does that make sense? It doesn't mean that they're not there. It just means that we're not meeting them halfway, and we have to meet them, you know, halfway. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, commitment's important. And also, you know, some of our guides, we're not the only people that they spend time with, and they may have really big portfolios. You know, it's like when people you know, I have connections with gnomes and fairies and all sorts of earth elemental guardians and beings, but also cosmic guardians and beings, and they have portfolios of the work that they do. So they're not just sitting around drinking tea waiting for the human down there. Down there, it's not right, but you know, I'm just saying, they're not just waiting for that human to have an issue. They've got other things that they're doing, and so their time is precious as well. But they're committed to us, and they will commit, and but they also are wanting us to do our work, because it makes the job easier for them the more work we do, because our commitment's really important, but our frequencies start to change with the work. And the things that used to bother us don't bother us anymore, because the frequencies are shifting, the frequencies are changing. And so they're always really happy, but it's like that they have other things to do. And, you know, when big gods and big energy frequencies interact with us, it is a real pleasure. It is a real it is a real blessing and a real honor. And it can be intimidating, and you can feel like not worthy enough, because, oh my God, I can't believe that Yeshua is coming to communicate with me, when all the millions of things that are happening in the galaxies, Yeshua is choosing me. Now, in the higher realms, in the galactic realms, the Ophanim, for example, can manifest in millions of ways at any one moment. So, you know, I know that they can manifest in millions of ways, but we show that commitment by saying, I'm turning up. You know, it's like Christine would have experienced with her child. Even on a bad day, you turn up to be a parent. You turn up, and it might be that you turn up in as minimal way as you can at that particular time, and it's one step after another, and you do the minimal, but you turn up as a parent. So it's like turning up, committing to, being open to, and being willing to. And all of those things facilitate that process for all of us, not just you, Christine, for all of us.
Yeah, totally. Okay, Christine says, thank you guys, you helped me. I really appreciate your feedback. Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here. I have a lot to share and different experiences. We are of the earth, but for the stars. Oh, I love that. Love and thank you for your energy and time. Thank you for being here, and thank you for coming back. Obviously, you are here for a really great and grand reason, and you'll figure it out. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. Yeah. And what Paulina was saying earlier about how some people are saying, oh gosh, I can't believe that I came back here, or I made that choice to be here now, or to be, you know, on this plane. What was I thinking? That kind of thing. I've come to the realization that this is I mean, it's such an amazing and epic time to be here at this juncture of humanity's evolution, that the fact that you are here is huge. And give yourself credit, because this is a really huge deal. I've heard from a lot of galactics and guides that there's a lot of people that humans that want to be here, and at this time, and there's a lot of galactics watching what's happening now from other star systems, and other galaxies. So the fact that you are here and you made that choice to be here, honor that, and pat yourself on the back every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah, I said to Sharon before in another conversation we had that it's amazing that we're here and that we didn't choose in this lifetime to be an amoeba floating in space and see what that feels like.
Right.
Well, that's a part of our growth and development, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a profound time in collective consciousness, a profound time on this planet. And the planet is beautiful. And there's all these amazing Garden of Eden templates on her body, and that we are remembering. And that's what we're starting to remember: the times of Atlantis, the times of Lemuria, the times of different experiences on this planet and on other planets. And it's when we leave here, we realize what a beautiful place this planet really is. And that's why so many people keep coming back, because it's the planet that is stunning. She's beautiful.
She is.
She is a beautiful live being who supports us in everything we do. And as the journey progresses into this understanding more and more of that, what a great time to be here, to have a conscious interaction with our planet, all the animals, all the plants, all the different beings, each other in a love frequency. It's amazing. And what a blessing that we're here. And like Sharon said, this, like, people are clambering to get here. Clambering. And if Sharon had left at 9, she wouldn't have had time to do the recycle, to come back here, to be the age she is now, to do the things she's doing now. And for everything we understand, there's a whole load of stuff we don't understand.
Right.
But as human beings, we've grown up believing that we've got it sorted. But we really haven't. There's so much stuff. It's vast, and we only know little bits of it. And so who are we to say we've got this sorted? Who are we to say we fully understand, when actually we are just entwined in this beautiful, glorious playing out of an amazing thing that's happening on this planet at this time, where the body of this planet, the consciousness of this planet has said, wow, the ascending process is getting really close. I'm taking everything on my body with me.
Right.
Every single thing on my body is coming, if it chooses to be coming.
That includes
we get
us.
to go with her. Sorry. Yeah.
I was just going to say that includes us.
Yeah, we get to go with her.
Yeah.
We get to go with her. And she will go whether we go with her or not.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that human beings have kind of got caught up in, on damage to the earth. And yes, we need to walk lightly. Yes, to understand that she's a living being, but she's going whether our species goes with her or not. Right. She wants us to come. We're invited. That's why we're all clambering to get here now, because we know it's an amazing time in the cosmic consciousness. But if we don't go with her, she's going anyway.
Beautiful. That's so true. And when I had that experience, and I've connected to Mother Earth so many times since then, and felt her immense love for us, for every part of her body, all of us on her body, so much love that we can't even fathom how much love she's a galactic being, how much love that they have for us. And even though we've mistreated her body in a lot of instances.
Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, go ahead.
She's placed things all over her body in order to help us to remember. The sacred sites were placed there by other beings as well, but she's placed cosmic eggs, she's placed dragon eggs, she's placed all sorts of grid energies. These were placed there to facilitate our awakening process. So she's committed. She's committed over eons to facilitate the now that is happening and what is happening. And what better can we have that we have an unconditional mother who's going, come on, darlings, come on, I've got your back. I'm supporting you. Look, all the water you need, all the food you need, all the medicines you need, all the oxygen you need. Now, human beings have done a good job at trying to destroy that, but she still, all the food you need, all the oxygen you need, all the plants and medicines you need, everything is on my body. Come enjoy and nurture, feel nurtured, and have a reciprocal physical, spiritual, and emotional relationship with me, and we will go places together.
Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful. I'm sure everyone would agree when you spend time outdoors, because we don't spend enough time outdoors, especially here. Well, we're in the winter time here in Oregon, but uh, what season are you in, Paulina?
Summer.
Summer. Okay.
Yeah, summer.
Okay. We feel so much better when we're out on, communicating, interacting with the planet, with Mother Earth, with nature, all of that. There's just no way around it. We feel so much better. She helps us. She well, more than helps us. We survive because of her. Yeah. But when you were, that was beautiful. When you were talking about how what's on the planet, grids and cosmic eggs and things like that that's been placed on the planet, reminded me of an experience I wanted to share. It's kind of funny. And I may have shared it, but with you, I can't remember. So when I was, this was about 15 years ago, I was in meditation, and I'm at a council, okay, some kind of a higher galactic type of council. And I recognized Sananda, I recognized some other very high frequency beings, but Archangel Raphael overshadowed me, okay, in order to be there. So I was able to be there in that frequency. And there was extraterrestrials also in that room where we were, and they were talking about burying crystals on the planet. And that they needed volunteers to bury crystals on the planet. So I raise my hand and I say, I'll do it. Right. And I'm just in the audience, just an observer, and I'm being overshadowed. And there's this kind of little bit of laughter and like, oh, isn't she cute? Oh, well, thank you. But we'll get someone else. That the next night I had an out-of-body experience. Or I'm not gonna say an out-of-body experience. It was a experience where I felt him. What he told me was his name was Bartholomew. I felt him as Saint Bartholomew was what he told me.
Yes.
But he said, call me Bartholomew. He picked me up in a spaceship, and he was chosen to bury some crystals, and he picked me up. So they gave me that gift to go with him and help him bury some crystals.
How nice.
But yeah, isn't that really beautiful?
That's such a way of supporting your dream and recognizing that this was important to you, and also being able to witness such a thing with Bartholomew is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it was also confirming my experience too.
Yes.
That, yeah. It was a continuation of it. Because, when you have these experiences, when you're first waking up, you think, am I crazy? Oh my gosh, what is this? That kind of thing. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. Does anyone have any questions for us? Go ahead and put them in the chat. We have so much to talk about. We have about 20 minutes left. So if you have anything you'd like to ask or just share, and share your wisdom as well. I mean, we are just here sharing what we what we have come to know and learn in our experiences. And I just share what, you know, we just share what we learn from our experiences. I kind of feel that we are here to remember. It's more a matter of remembering than learning. Does that make sense, Paulina?
Yeah, I've said that a few times myself. It's like remembering is the key, and there's an energetic remembering, which is like remembering coming together, but also the soul remembering, and or letting the soul memory move and activate through you, and that's happening in a way of itself, and we just can surrender to it. But we can facilitate that process as well by consistently being open, dropping into the heart. Often in the journey of understanding the world and the cosmos, it becomes a very left brain thing for people, and it's about what they've read or who they've listened to, or what research they've done. The journey is really about going within and dropping into the heart, because in the heart is the seed of all of consciousness. And in that heart is that's where we grow our tree of life. That's where our branches are fed. And so if we consistently open and drop into the heart, then all of the remembering becomes an easier experience and a potentially joyous experience. It's like we reintegrate, we remember, we bring more of ourselves into our awareness. And as we do that, our understanding of awareness just expands, and we become more and more huge in our understanding of what's really in there and out there.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. And we become, like you said, we become more aware of our multidimensional selves, which is so exciting. In my out-of-body travels, I mean, I've come out on other planets with a different type of body, and see myself as a different type of being, or different human, but different. I mean, I still know I'm me, but I'm different. So it's a multidimensional, another parallel life, whatever you want to call it, a multidimensional self part of me. So I feel that we're in that time where we're able to integrate that a lot more, and bringing all those awarenesses in, which helps us expand even more and more and more. Yeah.
Yeah. And with that, the recognition that the form that we've taken for this life is just the form that we have taken for this life. And we've been all sorts of beings and all sorts of forms, and we've come from all sorts of places. We're not necessarily Pleiadian or Syrian. We in the higher realms, it's like we've all had different experiences. And we may have been the dinosaurs, or we may have been lizards, or in the sense of lizards on the ground, not lizards in space.
Right. Well, that too, maybe.
Yeah, that too. You know,
I have a memory of being one.
Yeah. So, and we've been bears, and we've been plant. Well, it's not that we've been those things, but we have the consciousness of that. You know, and that's partly what shamanic journeying can do as well, is give you the experience of the animal world and the plant world and the rock and mineral world, and how the relationship is, and perhaps what the experience of it is like to be a bear, and how that resonates in you. And is it to become identified with the bear? Perhaps. It's more than likely, though, it's to help you understand that everything is consciousness experiencing itself in one shape, form, or another. And if we understand this is the consciousness of a bear, we develop a relationship with the bear and the guardians of the bears. But we don't say the bear is I am the bear necessarily. It's the understanding that all things exist in this consciousness, and we're all interconnected.
Yeah, which is what the indigenous peoples know.
And they're strongly connected to the stars. They have not lost it, thank goodness, because humanity tried to get them to lose it, but thank goodness people held that knowledge.
Right. Yeah, it's so important. So important. Yeah, I love that. I do have some experiences of shape shifting, in some of my travels.
Mm.
And it's really profound when you're in that space of being in someone else's, some other beings. Well, like I said, I've seen myself as another type of extraterrestrial being, amphibious, reptilian, that kind of thing. But also I've shape shifted into my dog in an out of body experience. And I saw a fairy in my hallway. My dog could see the fairy in the hallway. And I was in that space of just wanting to go outside, wanting to go outside. And it's not the dog she wasn't the dog I have now, but she was a dog I used to have quite a few years ago. But she wanted to go outside. She used to bury her bones, and she wanted to go outside. And so as her, someone let me outside. I don't know who it was as her, but someone let me outside because I need to go check on my bones.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and dug up my bones as my dog. Yeah. To make sure they were still there. That's what I had on my mind.
It's amusing, but it's also deeply profound because it shows you the kind of relationship that you have with your dog, and that also what's important to a dog and how you get outside. So somebody let you outside.
Yeah, somebody let me out. I don't have any, I didn't notice who it was because I was focused. I realized that animals are single focused, right? Yeah. And I just went to check on my bones because I had that in my mind. Yeah. And then I have another shape shifted as a seagull when I was at the coast. And there was that single-mindedness focus of, I mean, it wasn't, with the bird, it was not so single-minded as my dog, but it was more of a full awareness of the way I was feeling it and understanding it, of so many things all at once, like the other birds around him. I felt that type of feeling with a male. Not that I actually had that awareness as being a male, but I felt, if that makes any sense. And the other birds around, and and the bird's main goal was food, looking for food. At that point, when I shapeshifted, the bird was on the roof of the where I was staying. So, but but the bird had to make sure that none of the other birds would get the food, and we see that happening. But I was in that awareness, in that bird's mind, or that consciousness. And when he took off to fly, it was such an exhilarating, because I was there and in that awareness as me too, of taking flight. It was, it was very exhilarating.
Mm-hmm. And I've had many experiences of a similar thing, and one I'll share is of being a dinosaur, a diplodocus. I think that's how you say it. Oh, I might have that wrong. Anyway, the really big, tall ones that are vegetarian, and they have the long neck and the small head and the quite thick 4 legs.
Okay. What did you call it?
I'm pretty sure it's the diplodocus.
Oh, okay.
But somebody's going to say I'm wrong.
I don't know, but
and that's quite okay.
Yeah.
And that was and so there's been other experiences, but that one was really interesting because you're quite tall because you had a very long neck, and you ate from up the tallest tree level, taller than a giraffe.
Mm-hmm.
So, and quite solid on the ground, not easily moved, but could feel the vibrations of the earth, and could feel the vibration also of things happening in the earth. But when, like if something was stampeding, you could feel it. but there was a very peaceful energy in that being.
Nice.
And it did sometimes have threat, but part of its nature. And so that's also, I think, why some of these experiences are interesting, because they show us some part of our nature, don't they? Or they teach us something. It's like this thing, there was a potential for threat, but it never felt under threat.
I see.
And it lived a peaceful life, and it ate the plants. And I remember just seeing really big vistas, because it was tall, and the vibration was different then, and the world was different then. It's like there were these big vistas that you could see in clearings, whereas now they've either been, there are some places on the planet where there has been less human intervention, but most places on the planet have had some kind of human intervention. And often since then, I will go to places and I can feel the dinosaur energy in the land.
Oh, nice.
And I can feel what happened there in that dinosaur realm. And obviously there are some places on the planet where the pterodactyls have been seen and so on. So there's still that vibration around. So, and obviously on a different, something completely different, but with all the vibrations changing, there are, if you like, the veils, which are really only veils, they're not real. They're clearing, and so mixed vibrations are showing up a lot for people. And I know for myself, when I go out in nature a lot, I go out in nature a lot of the time. When I go out in nature, things will be different, and the rocks will be in a different place, or the trees have grown more, and that's from a day-to-day experience. And that's just the blending of the different frequencies and the different experiences of reality and time zones, because time is a human illusion. And so some days the rocks are really tall, other days they're not. Sometimes the water is doing something, another day it's in a complete, not necessarily a completely different space, but a completely different energy. And so I know water, particularly moving water, moves all over like a tide will move. But this is about frequencies and the codings within the earth, the codings within the natural world, and the codings within the water are becoming much more accessible to the general people now.
Oh, okay.
And they always were, but people were closed off to it.
Right. Yeah. So our frequency is raising and our consciousness is expanding. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
There's one thing about the seagull that I forgot to mention, was that I keep wanting to say he, but his senses were very acute. All of his smell, sight, very acute. Yeah. And that was amazing. I love that feeling. I love talking about that kind of stuff. So Rev Ned says, went for a walk in the night sky on Mama Terra's snow-covered skin to pray and lay down tobacco for all of you. Aw. The coyote people started talking after offering the tobacco in a good way. Gratitude. Aw, Rev Ned, thank you so much. You're a sweetheart. Coyote people. Nice. Christine, she says there are classes or conventions on this topic or like topics. Speaking of Mother Nature, leaving a way to connect. There's now studies with lifting veils with mushrooms. Any thoughts? Okay, so Stevenson, Washington. So you're in Stevenson, Washington. Is there classes? That's what I understand. Is there classes or conventions on this topic or like topics about what? Oh, okay. So what we're talking about. Well, I think Paulina has classes. I know I have classes. You can go to my website, SharonSanana.com. And Paulina, do you have classes or courses?
I haven't for a while, but I used to, and I'm starting them up again soon. So you can find them on either matrixharmonics.com.
Okay. Yeah. And we'll have that information in the details. And yeah.
And she asked about mushrooms.
Yes. Okay. Speaking of Mother Nature, leaving a way to connect. There's now studies with lifting veils of mushrooms. Yes. Yes. Any thoughts? Definitely. Okay. In Oregon, I guess they've been legalized, right?
Well, I don't know if they've been legalized everywhere. I don't know
Okay.
if they've been legalized
I think they have in
everywhere.
Oregon,
Okay.
but for therapeutic use, I believe, with
I mean, plant medicines have existed on this planet since the beginning of time, or since the beginning of the planet. So she has provided plant medicines, and each plant has its own energy frequency. And again, all the indigenous cultures used and accessed those plants and rocks and everything else for their experiences. And mostly they were done under ritual and ceremony, and they were very holy experiences. And that has changed considerably in the way that they're approached now by in different ways. And accessing other worlds through plant medicines is something that can certainly be done, as is accessing healing medicine through those plants is certainly a powerful way. It comes down to the individual and what feels right, and whether that feels the thing to do. And if that feels right to you, Christine, or whoever asked the question, then sit with it and investigate it.
Yeah.
Like everything that's available on the planet, it comes down to our individual soul connection and our individual energy of what we feel is right for us, regardless of what anyone else says works for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would pretty much say the same thing. I mean, I've these plants were given to us for healing, but unfortunately, especially in the Western world, I believe that we've don't use them for that purpose, except if you're in a shamanic situation. And I've had I think 3 ceremonies with mushrooms, and they were very intense for me. So I would say if you're going to use plant medicine in a ceremony type of situation, be sure it's with someone you trust, and that you know, or that you get good information, maybe ask around, get referrals on, if you're going to use them in that way. I understand that microdosing is very helpful for people that are going through some type with mushrooms, psilocybin, going through depression or things like that. But I totally agree with Paulina. Use your own intuition, and I would maybe do some research on people that you might trust, that ask around if you have any contacts or anything like that you can ask around.
And if I may add something to that too, and that's not to say these aren't great medicines, they are. Yeah. But everything that exists on the planet is a great medicine. And like an example of that, which may make you laugh, may not. But I was in the jungles in Peru, and I was working, learning some things from different curanderos there, and experiencing different things. And there was an opportunity to have specific medicines to take for the healing process, plant medicines specifically. And throughout my life, I had always juiced fruits and vegetables, mainly vegetables rather than fruits. And 2 of the things that I had often included was carrot and beetroot and celery and other things. Anyway, so I'm in the jungle and I'm being given medicine, and the 2 things that I was given as medicine were carrot and beetroot juice. So I thought that was great, because some people were having to eat slugs and all sorts of things, and I was just getting carrot beetroot.
Yeah, that's a lot better than slugs.
But also, I'm mentioning that because it's a little bit amusing, but also because the fruits and vegetables that exist on the planet are part of that healing energy. And spices and plant spices and herbs and all those things have been used by people for millennia as a healing experience. And so if it's the mushrooms that you're drawn to, or it's herbs that you're drawn to, or particular juices that you're drawn to, then trust that and suck it and see. And if it doesn't work, then don't work. But the same as if you were going to buy fruits and vegetables, you'd try to get the best kind of fruits and vegetables. You'd get some, if you're going to, so do things with a sense of integrity and do some research for yourselves so that you can feel like you're following your path. Because there's a lot of wisdom out there about following someone else's path, but it's time for each of us to follow what we need to do for us. And if you resonate with mushrooms, then it's, investigate and decide for yourself. And we've certainly had in the last couple of years a lot of stuff going on about who's going to do what and what medicines people are going to take and what sort of things people are going to put in their bodies. And so it's like, if it resonates for you, then it resonates for you, but it may not resonate for somebody else. And is it our place to tell you what to do or not to do? In that sense, I suppose we've talked about other things that we've recommended, but when you put something inside your body, it becomes a medicine in some way.
Yeah. Yes. She said she's new to this. You don't have to apologize, Christine. Don't worry. Google and join Meetup, Facebook, and various links for conventions and stuff. So welcome to the community. That's all. Welcome. Yes. And I was just curious. I'm Native American, and my grandma and mother maybe suggested I'd try mushrooms to help. Yeah, I mean, just like Pauline says, whatever resonates with you, that's why I think it's important for you to, for us, all of us, not you, but all of us to sit with it and see, and see how that feels with you, connecting to your guidance system. It doesn't necessarily have to be a person that you're connecting to, but connect to your guidance system, connect to, your intuition, and see how it feels for you. When I was partying, I was doing mushrooms, but just, one little thing right there, and all we did was laugh, so I'm like, oh, this is awesome. We're just laughing, I love to laugh. So we're just laughing more. And then I did them in a ceremony, and it was very intense. So it's very different than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's like tobacco is a sacred plant and has been used for millennia again as a sacred plant.
Yeah.
But it has now become something that is a casual encounter and part of social interaction. But when used for ceremony and when used for healing, mapacho and tobacco is a powerful healer. So it's not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just, as you mentioned it, if it feels right, it's for you, and that's for you to decide.
And I'm getting that from her. She says if she ends up doing a ceremony, she'll let us know. Yes, please do. Yes, she's been researching it. From her research so far, she believes there's nothing there that they aren't looking for. My purpose for it for spiritual energy, medicinal, and connection to everything. Okay.
And the other thing, as Christine would know, and that the majority of so-called medicines that have become part of the pharmaceutical basis have come from the jungle, have come from the earth, and they have been modified and rehashed, if you like, to become a pharmaceutical. So anything that that exists on the planet is potentially a medicine. And there's mushroom teas, there's mushrooms in all sorts of products. So it's about becoming mindful of what it is that we're using for ourselves and how we can work with it and develop that consciousness together.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I've also learned having a relationship, and it looks like you're doing, you say you're going to grow your own, I think. Having a relationship with the mushroom energy, the mushroom beings is super important too. Because there's a consciousness there. And I learned that from the shaman that
Yeah.
in the
Everything is
ceremonies.
consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm getting at. Yeah.
So having that relationship can be super helpful with the medicine as well. And you can ask what the medicine is, wants to teach you or wants to show you, that type of thing. I mean, you can always have an intention. That's what I learned from the ceremonies I did. But since you're Native American, your family is, there's so much to learn there, and know you have it in your DNA, right? So I'm super, super excited for you, definitely, for walking walking into this world again. Whatever it is, whatever helps us heal, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Um, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Paulina. What fun this was.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'll have to do it again sometime, maybe.
Yes, we will, definitely. And thank you everyone for being here. And just being a part of this conversation. It's I mean, what a blessing. We can just sit here and talk about what we enjoy, and people join us, and hopefully someone glean something and get some help some way, somehow. Yeah. And Rev Ned, love you everyone. Okay, signing off, and have a wonderful evening.